if you don't have a code, a moral compass, a sense of, what's right and wrong, or why you're here or not here, what is any of it for?
It's important to realize that pretty much anything you're going through, someone has gone through before and written a book about. General Mattis was a 4-star general in the Marines. He was Secretary of Defense. He's known as this kind of warrior monk, because he's not just this war fighter, but he's also this deeply thoughtful sort of student of his craft. And he points this out to like young soldiers. He says, like, hey, people have been fighting on battlefields for as long as humans have existed. And the earliest literature is about this, right? Whether we're talking about Homer or Gilgamesh, the idea that you would not avail yourself of the lessons they've learned, he's like, is insane. He's like, the mistakes you're making cost people things. And so to make a mistake by trial and error that someone else has already gone through is reckless and irresponsible. And he has this great quote I think about all the time. He says, if you haven't read hundreds of books about like what it is that you do, he said, you're functionally illiterate, right? Illiterate not in the sense that you can't read, but illiterate in the sense that you haven't read. Epictetus says, it's impossible to learn that which you think you already know.
To me, confidence is based on the evidence of what you've done, but it is coupled with an awareness of where you could have done better, what wasn't a result of your effort. So that balance of those two. You should be putting yourselves in positions where you're not sure if you could do it. You hope you can do it. You have confidence that you're not someone who quits when things are hard. And these are what allow you to make a rational bet that it's not a totally reckless thing to do. Having the worst case scenario happen to you can be freeing in another way, which is you realize it's not actually that bad of a worst case scenario. Freud said once, in retrospect, the struggle will strike you as most beautiful. Like the years of struggle will strike you as most beautiful. And it's true. You think about the worst moments of your life from earlier. Now they're integrated into who you are. And in some ways we understand that we couldn't and wouldn't be where we are without those things. And so why torture yourself in the interim, right? Why not give yourself some of that grace now? Why not go, hey, I understand that this is going to be a thing that forms me as a human, and in the future, I will be grateful for it. What do you want your life to look like, right? I think it's very easy to go, these people are successful, I'm going to do what they do. But if you don't have a sense of day-to-day what you want your life to look like or who you want to be in your life, it's very easy to lose your bearings very quickly because you're going to get offered things. Do you want to go over here? You want to do this? You want to do that? It's where the audience capture thing comes in too. You are doing what makes rational sense or is in your immediate self-interest, but it may well be taking you much, much further away from where you want to go or where you should go. Then you wake up one day and, your spouse leaves you. You wake up one day and your children hate you. You wake up one day and you go, oh, wait, I'm the bad guy. I'm not a positive contributor to humanity. And so I think being really clear with yourself about what success looks like is really important, because if you start to get it, it becomes this rocket ship that you're riding on, and you are not going to have the control then of it.
You want to be the person that figures stuff out and is good at it, has the tools and the determination to figure stuff out. When we talk about work-life balance, the reason that's so hard is we're talking about trade-offs, like that you can't have it all. And you're going to have to say no to some things.
Marcus Aurelius' line is the fruit of this life is good character and works for the common good. I like that definition of justice. So first off, like just the things that you control. Do I keep my word? How do I treat other human beings? Like what ethics do I operate under? How do I run my business? How do I, do I litter or not litter? Just the little decisions we make about what kind of person we're going to be. That's character. And then the other side of that is, the impact that we try to positively have in the world, in the political sphere, the social sphere, the things we write, the things we say? Do we participate in the issues of our time? So that tension, that the balance of those two is how I would define this idea of justice, like what the right thing is. And then the other virtues are in pursuit of that, like courage. If we lived in a perfectly just world, it wouldn't take any courage to pursue these things, but we don't, right? In fact, most of the people that we admire, say a Martin Luther King or a Gandhi, we admire them simultaneously, not just for their strong sense of right and wrong. They're not just these monkish figures who retreated from the world, but the courage and the tenacity with which they brought that thing into being. And then we throw the fourth, like the learnedness and the astuteness, in some cases, like the political genius of them. This is where the discipline of wisdom comes in. So that they're these inseparable, interrelated virtues that, for the most part, you cannot separate. Knowing what the right thing is and doing the right thing are very different things. And so even the virtue of justice, just having a good conscience, is in and of itself only so valuable. We think of justice as this highfalutin, fancy, abstract notion. And it can be, all men are created equal and, saving the less fortunate, but it's also just like who we are in these day-to-day decisions. And when we make when we do the harder thing, when we do the thing that's better for someone else, but worse for us, that's usually a sense we're kind of on that right track. When we're not acting in our own naked self-interest, but we're considering what the Stoics would call the common good, or something bigger than ourselves. That to me is like a check against that. Trying to set your life up so when people see it, you don't have much to be ashamed of, is again what this idea of virtue is about. There's a famous story about a Spartan king. He bumps into this boy and his lover, in the marketplace, and they see him and he sees them, and they blush very heavily. And he goes, "You should probably not spend time with people whose face changes color when or who makes your face change color when you're seen." Right? The idea of like, hey, if I had to open the books, if I had to disclose the suppliers,
Yep.
if my email was hacked, how would that look? And to try to be that person, which goes all the way back to Adam Smith. Adam Smith wrote this book called The Theory of Moral Sentiments before he wrote A Wealth of Nations. And it's based largely on Stoicism. And he said, operate as if you had an impartial spectator on your shoulders at all times. And to make the decisions and go, hey, what would I do here if someone was watching? Is a check against these sort of the expedient or the self-interested impulse that we all have.